The streetlights flickered above, casting long shadows over the deserted alley. The air was thick with a chill that seemed to seep into every corner of the world. Jack sat on a cold, damp bench, his fingers trembling as they clutched a ragged coat pulled tight around his frail body. Life had never been kind to him. His face, worn and weathered by years of hardship, told a story of loss and regret. He was a man who had seen the worst of the world, a man who had lost everything he once held dear. As Jack stared into the emptiness before him, he couldn't help but wonder how much longer he could survive this way. There was nothing left for him here. No family to turn to, no hope to hold on to. Every day felt like a battle, every moment a fight against the inevitable. Then, through the haze of his thoughts, he saw something that made him freeze. A small, scruffy dog limped into the alley, its fur matted with dirt and its eyes filled with pain. It was just another stray, wandering the streets like Jack had done for so long. But something about this dog, this moment, felt different. It was as if fate had brought them together, two lost souls who had both been abandoned by the world. Jack's heart clenched. He knew what it was like to be forgotten, to be invisible. And in that moment, he couldn't ignore the connection he felt with this creature. As he reached out, his hand shaking, he made a choice. One that would set off a chain of events that neither he nor the world could have anticipated. What he didn't know was that this simple act of kindness would change not only his life but the life of someone he never expected to cross paths with. Elon Musk. The camera lingers on Jack as he gazes at the stray dog, his heart pounding with the weight of his past. Every wrinkle on his face tells a story of choices he'd rather forget. Once a man of ambition, Jack had been a dreamer. He had built his life on the foundation of hope, with a wife he loved, children he adored, and a job that gave him purpose. But that life crumbled like sand in the wind. Bad decisions, a string of personal failures, and an addiction he couldn't shake pushed him into a downward spiral that stripped him of everything. The apartment that had once been filled with laughter was now a cold, empty space. The echoes of his children's voices haunted the silence, and his wife's absence was a constant reminder of the life he'd destroyed. The shame was overwhelming, like a heavy chain wrapped around his chest, tightening with every breath he took. Now, Jack's world was the streets. The alleyways became his home, and the cold concrete his bed. Every day was a fight for survival, scavenging for food, dodging the indifferent glances of those who passed by, trying to hold on to what little dignity he had left. The only company he kept were the other homeless, yet even they seemed to walk their own path, too preoccupied with their own battles to notice Jack's struggles. But the stray dog, its sad eyes and weary gait, pulled him from his numb existence. Jack's heart ached as he watched it limp closer, each step filled with pain. The dog had no one, just like him. They were kindred spirits, abandoned by society, left to fend for themselves in a world that didn't care. As Jack bent down to offer the dog the last of his food, something inside him stirred. It wasn't just hunger or pity that drove him to help. It was the recognition of a soul that, like his own, had been forgotten. In the animal's eyes, Jack saw a reflection of his own despair, but also a glimmer of something else, a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this moment could be the start of something different. Perhaps by saving this dog, he could find redemption for himself. Meanwhile, miles away in a high-tech office that felt as cold and sterile as the world Jack had come to know, Elon Musk stared out of his window. The tech mogul's empire stretched across continents, but even his vast fortune and genius had not shielded him from his own battles. The world saw him as a visionary, a man whose ambitions had reshaped the future. Yet, beneath the surface, Elon struggled with his own demons. Isolation, the pressure of constantly living in the public eye, and the relentless drive to achieve more, even when he felt empty inside. Elon's motivations were different from Jack's, but not entirely. He sought innovation, progress, and breakthroughs that could change the world, but somewhere along the way, he had lost sight of the personal connections that once mattered to him. His desire to push boundaries had come at the expense of the people he cared about, and the weight of that realization was beginning to take its toll. But on that fateful day, their worlds would collide. Jack, the broken man trying to reclaim his humanity, and Elon, the billionaire whose path was leading him into an emotional void. Little did they know, their destinies were intertwined in ways neither could have imagined. The emotional stakes were clear. For Jack, helping the dog represented a chance at redemption, a chance to prove he was still capable of caring, of making a difference. For Elon, his life had become a cycle of achievements that left him feeling emptier with each passing day. The dog, in some strange way, could become the key to unlocking a part of himself he thought he had lost forever. But not everything was as simple as it seemed. Unseen forces were at play. As Jack took the dog into his arms, a subtle shift occurred. A moment that would alter the course of both their lives, setting them on a path toward an encounter neither of them was prepared for. The world was about to change, but the question remained. Could either of them survive the consequences? The story begins to take an unpredictable turn as Jack, with the stray dog now nestled beside him, finds himself at a crossroads. His decision to take the dog in was supposed to be an act of kindness, but it triggers an unexpected chain of events. As Jack continues to care for the dog, whom he names Lucky, he starts feeling a flicker of hope for the first time in years. The dog's presence seems to rekindle something deep inside him, a desire to feel needed, to feel alive again. But the alleyways are not kind to the vulnerable. As Jack tries to find work and gain the trust of those around him, he faces rejection after rejection. People avert their eyes, judging him for his appearance, his scruffy beard, and the broken look in his eyes. Even when he tries to help others, he's met with indifference or disdain. The world outside is harsh, unforgiving. As Jack struggles to make ends meet, he notices something strange. His fortunes begin to change when he's seen with Lucky. The dog, once a symbol of Jack's own hopelessness, becomes a symbol of kindness in a world that had long since stopped caring. People begin to offer Jack food, and a few even give him small sums of money, mistaking him for someone who is doing good. Jack feels the power of this newfound hope, but it's fleeting. He can't shake the feeling that something is just out of reach. Meanwhile, miles away, in the high-rise office of Elon Musk, things aren't as simple as they seem. Elon's quest for innovation continues to drive him forward, but it's clear he's becoming more detached, his mind consumed by problems both personal and professional. Despite his wealth and success, Elon feels like he's losing touch with the world around him. His public image is immaculate, but privately, he's battling loneliness. The weight of expectations and the relentless push for progress have left him isolated. One evening, after a long day of meetings and press conferences, Elon stumbles across a news article on his phone. An unlikely headline that catches his attention. Homeless man saves stray dog, becomes local hero. The story, featuring a photo of Jack and Lucky, piques Elon's curiosity. The simplicity of the tale, the genuine compassion in Jack's eyes, the way he held the dog in his arms, seems to stir something deep within him. Elon, despite his public persona, can't help but feel an emotional pull. For the first time in a long while, he feels connected to someone. Unbeknownst to Jack, Elon becomes fascinated by his story. He begins following Jack's journey from afar, hoping to understand the deeper connection between the man and the dog. At first, it's harmless curiosity, but as weeks pass, Elon's obsession grows. He reaches out to the media, trying to learn more about Jack's life, even offering a large sum of money for an interview. Jack, who's still struggling to trust anyone, refuses. The attention feels overwhelming, and he resents the idea of becoming a spectacle, a project for someone as far removed from his reality as Elon Musk. As the story progresses, tensions rise between Jack and the world around him. Jack's reputation grows as a local hero, but with it comes the pressure to live up to the image people have of him. He is constantly asked to help others, to be the figure they think he should be. But this new life, this new image, feels like a gilded cage. Jack doesn't want to be a hero. He wants to find peace, to reclaim a sense of normalcy. At the same time, Elon begins to plan a way to meet Jack in person. He believes that Jack's story holds the key to unlocking something he's been missing in his own life, a sense of humanity, of connection. Elon is convinced that meeting Jack will help him understand what he's been searching for, and perhaps help him solve his own emotional struggles. But his obsession with Jack's journey becomes all-consuming, blurring the lines between genuine concern and the need for control. The story takes a sharp turn when Jack, at his breaking point, finally accepts an invitation to meet Elon Musk. He agrees, though he feels deep unease about the whole idea. The meeting feels like a desperate attempt to escape his reality, but it comes with a catch. He has to let go of the anonymity he's clung to for so long. As Jack walks into the high-tech world of Elon Musk, the contrast between their lives is jarring. The sleek, polished surroundings make Jack feel like an outsider, like a relic from another time. Elon, dressed in his crisp suit, seems so far removed from the world Jack knows, a world of struggle and survival. The tension is palpable as they sit across from each other, an invisible gulf between them. Jack is wary, defensive, not wanting to become part of Elon's latest project. Elon, on the other hand, is desperate to make a connection, to understand what makes Jack tick, what drives him. The conversation starts slowly, with both men feeling each other out. Elon asks about Jack's past, his struggles, but Jack remains guarded, unwilling to reveal too much. It's only when Elon talks about his own isolation and loneliness that Jack begins to soften. They connect on a deeper level, but the meeting is far from peaceful. The growing tension is palpable. Both men want something from the other. Elon wants to fix Jack's life, to make him a symbol of redemption, while Jack just wants to be left alone to live in peace. Just as the conversation seems to be moving toward an understanding, a shocking twist unravels everything. Elon's team reveals plans to rebrand Jack and his story, turning it into a media campaign to promote Elon's latest philanthropic venture. Jack, horrified, realizes that he's been nothing more than a pawn in Elon's attempt to salvage his own image. Betrayed and furious, Jack storms out of the meeting, his trust shattered. As he walks back to the streets with Lucky by his side, the weight of the betrayal sinks in. The dog, once a symbol of hope, now feels like the only thing left in his life that hasn't let him down. He knows that his journey isn't about redemption or fame. It's about finding peace, not in the eyes of others, but within himself. The moment that shifts everything begins with a phone call that Jack never expected to receive. It's late in the evening, the streets silent except for the sound of distant traffic and the occasional barking of Lucky. Jack, exhausted and disillusioned after the meeting with Elon, sits in a worn-down bench in a park, staring into the emptiness. He feels the sting of betrayal. He's just a story to Elon, a tool to be used for someone else's gain. He was never meant to be saved. He was meant to be a symbol. Then the phone rings. The familiar number on the screen brings a flicker of hope, but it quickly fades as he picks up the call. Jack, the voice on the other end is familiar, but it's one he hasn't heard in months. It's his ex-wife, Sarah. The voice that once calmed him now trembles with uncertainty. "I need to talk to you." Confusion floods his mind. After all this time, after everything that happened, why is Sarah reaching out now? A part of him wants to ignore the call, to let the past stay buried, but something deep inside urges him to listen. I've been trying to move on, Jack," Sarah's voice cracks, "but there's something I need to tell you. I've been keeping something from you." The words are careful, measured, as though she's testing the waters, waiting for Jack's reaction. Jack's heart pounds. He knows this moment could change everything. The last time they spoke, it was a fight. His failures had finally broken her. He'd failed as a husband, as a father, and now, in the silence that stretches between them, he can almost hear her pain. "I'm pregnant, Jack," she finally admits, the words falling out like a confession, "and it's yours." Jack is stunned into silence. The weight of her words presses on him with an overwhelming force. His entire world, which had been nothing more than the crumbling pieces of his past, suddenly shifts. His heart races, unsure of what to feel. Hope? Fear? A surge of panic floods his chest. How can he be a father when he's barely holding on to his own life? Before he can respond, Sarah's voice trembles again. "I don't know what to do, Jack. I don't even know what I want. I don't want to raise this baby alone, but I don't know if you can be a part of this child's life. You've been gone for so long." The line goes silent, and Jack is left reeling. The world feels suddenly distant and foreign. This is the moment where everything changes. He's been lost, drowning in his own failures and regrets. But now, with the weight of this revelation, Jack feels the crushing responsibility of his past choices. He's not just fighting for his own survival anymore. He's being pulled back into a life he thought he'd lost forever. But as Jack struggles with the emotions this news has stirred, a deeper, more dangerous twist begins to unravel. While Jack grapples with the new life growing inside Sarah, something else is brewing on Elon's side. After Jack stormed out of their last meeting, Elon couldn't shake the idea that Jack's story was something he could still leverage, not just for himself, but for a greater cause. But this time, Elon's approach is different. He reaches out to Jack's ex-wife, Sarah, offering her a deal: money, fame, and the chance to control Jack's narrative, even if it means keeping him in the dark about the true deal. Elon, convinced that the baby could be a key to public sympathy, proposes using Sarah as a bargaining chip in his scheme. The promise of a new life, the allure of money and security, clouds her judgment. She doesn't want to be alone, and Elon's words promise the world an escape from the life Jack left behind. She agrees, not knowing the devastating consequences it will have on Jack. The betrayal doesn't stop there. As Sarah begins to quietly accept Elon's offer, the final piece falls into place. She agrees to meet Elon, secretly negotiating terms for herself and the child, keeping Jack in the dark, believing that if he knew, it would only complicate things. Jack, however, remains unaware of Elon's involvement. As he struggles with the reality of fatherhood, his emotions are pulled in every direction, by guilt, by hope, and by the looming shadow of his own past mistakes. But the truth has yet to hit him. Sarah's deal with Elon is a secret that will tear everything apart. At this moment, Jack's world is shattered for a second time. He's not just fighting to find redemption. He's unknowingly stepping into a trap that will not only destroy his chance at a fresh start, but will force him into a battle he is not prepared for, against the very people who were supposed to help him. The shock of these intertwined betrayals, the weight of his responsibilities, and the growing tension between Jack and the world around him create an emotional explosion. Jack's reaction is one of anger and confusion. The pacing quickens, and the emotional tension reaches its peak. Jack's heart races as the realization hits. The people he trusted, Sarah, Elon, are using him as a pawn in a game he never agreed to play. In a furious rage, Jack confronts Sarah, only to be met with silence. She can't look him in the eyes. The love they once shared now feels distant, tainted by secrets and lies. As Jack storms out, Lucky follows him, the dog once again his only companion. But this time, Jack's resolve is different. He isn't just fighting for himself anymore. He's fighting for the future he's just discovered, the child he never knew he had. The narrative shifts once again, setting the stage for the emotional and dramatic confrontation that will follow. The turning point has been reached, Jack's trust has been shattered, and his journey has taken an irreversible turn. The stakes have never been higher. The storm is coming. Jack stands at the edge of the rooftop, his face taut with anger, the cold night air biting at his skin. His mind is a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, confusion, and the deep, gnawing sense that he's lost everything he fought for. The weight of Sarah's secret, the looming figure of Elon Musk, and the child he never expected to have are now a suffocating presence in his life. And there, standing in the shadows, is Elon Musk, as calm and calculating as ever. The tension between them is thick, a palpable force that feels almost physical. Jack's fists are clenched, his breath heavy as he faces the man who, until recently, was his potential savior. But now, Jack understands that the man in front of him is not a rescuer. He's a manipulator, using him for his own gain, exploiting his vulnerabilities for a twisted kind of control. Elon steps forward, his voice cold, almost too controlled. "You think you're angry with me, Jack, but you have no idea how much bigger this can get. You could have had it all: riches, fame, a new life. But instead, you're standing here, staring at your future slipping away." Jack's chest tightens as he steps closer, his emotions boiling over. "You used me. All this time, I thought you were trying to help. I didn't realize you were just playing a game." Elon's eyes narrow. "You were never the prize, Jack. You were the bait. This," he gestures vaguely to the city lights below, "this is the story. You're just part of the narrative." The words hit Jack like a slap, But his anger is no longer enough to contain the flood of emotions crashing through him. This is not just about him anymore. It's about the life he's suddenly responsible for. It's about the child he's never met, the family he's lost, and the future he can't seem to grab hold of. Before Jack can respond, a new voice cuts through the tension, sharp and determined. Sarah stands at the edge of the rooftop, her face pale but resolute. "Jack, please listen. I never wanted it to come to this. I thought I was doing what was best." Her voice trembles, but Jack can see the desperation in her eyes. The woman he once loved is no longer the same person. The secrets and lies have taken their toll on her too. "You thought you were doing what was best?" Jack's voice cracks, the pain evident. "What did you think would happen? You've been lying to me, manipulating me this whole time. All of this, everything, has been a game to you." Sarah takes a step forward, but Elon's hand shoots out, stopping her in her tracks. "This is over, Sarah. You made your choice. You knew the price." His words are sharp, like daggers, but there's a glint in his eye, something darker than Jack has ever seen. The wind howls between them, carrying the sound of their confrontation into the night. Jack feels his grip on reality slipping. His heart races, his breath quickens. The truth is now undeniable. The child, Sarah, Elon, everything has been a twisted series of manipulations. The promises of a new life, the hopes of a future, have all been lies, carefully constructed to keep him in the dark and under control. And in that moment, something inside Jack shifts. The betrayal, the lies, the manipulation, they've all led to this. He's not the same man he was when this all began. The weight of responsibility has forced him to grow, to evolve, and to see the world for what it is. No more lies. No more deception. "I'm done," Jack says quietly, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "I'm done being your pawn, Elon. And I'm done being your second choice, Sarah. I'll find my own path, for myself and for the child." The finality in his words hangs in the air, like a punch to the gut. The tension between them crackles, as if the world is holding its breath. Elon's face tightens, his jaw clenching. Sarah's expression flickers with regret, but it's too late for apologies. The truth is out in the open, and Jack has made his choice. Elon takes one last step forward, his voice low and menacing. "You think you can walk away from this, Jack? This is just the beginning." But Jack's resolve is unshakable now. His path is clear, and he's not going to let Elon or anyone else dictate his future. With a final glance at Sarah, who stands there, helpless and broken, Jack turns and walks away, his mind focused on one thing: the future. The unknown path that lies ahead, where he will build his own life, free from the strings that have bound him for so long. The camera lingers on the rooftop, the wind whistling through the empty space, as Elon and Sarah are left behind, caught in the web of their own making. Jack's silhouette grows smaller in the distance, a symbol of strength and resolve, determined to rise above the darkness that has tried to consume him. And as the screen fades to black, the audience is left with the weight of Jack's decision. His future is uncertain, but it is his own. The dust settles, but the silence remains heavy. Jack stands alone in the quiet, looking out at the city's skyline, his thoughts swirling. The weight of the decision he's made is like a stone in his chest, and yet there's a sense of peace that comes with it. For the first time in what feels like forever, he's in control of his life, his choices, and his future. No longer a pawn in a game of manipulation, no longer trapped in the lies of those he once trusted. Behind him, the sound of footsteps disrupts the stillness. It's Sarah. She hesitates before speaking, her voice fragile, as if unsure whether she has the right to be here after everything that has transpired. "Jack," her voice catches in the air, a subtle plea for understanding. "I never wanted it to end this way." Jack doesn't turn around immediately. Instead, he simply stands there, staring into the distance, his expression unreadable. The years of hurt, the layers of betrayal, have created a distance between them that can never be crossed. Yet, there's something in her words that make him pause. Regret, yes, but also the lingering threads of what they once shared. "You did," he says finally, his tone low but steady. "You might not have meant to, but you did. And that's something I can't forget." Her shoulders slump, the guilt evident in the way she carries herself. But Jack doesn't need her to fix it anymore. He doesn't need to seek closure through her or anyone else. The healing, he knows, starts with him. As Jack walks away, leaving Sarah behind, the camera shifts to a moment of calm. The tension between them has been resolved, but the pain of the past lingers, like the fading echo of a storm. Jack's footsteps grow softer as he walks towards his new life, a life where he will choose his own path, untethered from the manipulation and control that had defined his existence for far too long. A new day begins. The sun rises over the horizon, casting a golden light on the city below. Jack doesn't know what's ahead, but for the first time, he's no longer afraid of the unknown. His journey has just begun, but now, for the first time, he feels ready to face it. The camera lingers on Jack's figure as he disappears into the distance, the weight of his past behind him, the promise of his future unfolding in front of him. There's no grand resolution, no happy ending, just the quiet acceptance of what has been lost and what can still be gained. But as the screen fades to black, the lingering question remains. Has Jack truly freed himself from the shackles of the past, or is there still something lurking in the shadows, waiting to challenge him again? The story may be over, but the echoes of his journey will remain, lingering in the hearts of those who have followed him, questioning whether true freedom is ever fully attainable, or if it's simply a fleeting moment in the middle of an ongoing struggle. The end, yet also a beginning. As the dust settles and Jack moves forward into his uncertain future, we're left with more than just the story of one man's journey. His choices, his betrayals, and his search for redemption mirror the struggles we all face. How far will we go to protect ourselves, and at what cost? In the end, Jack's decision to walk away from those he once loved, to sever the ties that bound him to a life of lies and manipulation, wasn't just about escaping his past. It was about confronting the truth of who he had become and deciding to take control of his own destiny, no matter the price. But sometimes, the hardest truth to accept is that even when we make the right choice for ourselves, it's not without consequences. Betrayal, after all, is never clean. The scars may heal, but they leave traces that can't be erased. And Jack will carry that weight with him forever. This story raises some important questions for all of us. If you were in Jack's shoes, would you have made the same choice? Could you walk away from everything you've known to build a new life from the ashes? What is the true cost of loyalty? Is it worth sacrificing your own happiness, your own future, to protect someone else? And when is it time to put yourself first? In the end, Jack chose to save himself, but in doing so, he left behind parts of himself, pieces that might never be fully restored. Perhaps that's the price of finding freedom, the loss of what once felt like home. So, I leave you with this. Can we truly save ourselves without losing something precious in the process? And if we do, is it worth it? As you reflect on this story, think about the times in your own life when you've had to make difficult decisions. The twists and turns, the betrayals, the moments of self-discovery. What have they taught you about who you are and who you are becoming? The journey may be long, and the choices may not always be clear, but one thing is certain. The path to redemption is never easy, but sometimes it's the only path left to walk.